Well, I'm going to show you today Affinity Publisher, which I'm sure most of you have heard of. It's a fabulous program. It's available currently at half price, which I think is about £23 in the UK, Mike, give or take, and what, $25 or something. They often have, you know, these sales, and they've had this 50% sale on for quite a long time. So if you're interested, I should grab it before it goes. I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to have this. This is the basically the document we're going to build. We might not get all the way to the end, but as we go along, hopefully I'll show you some of the things that Affinity Publisher and its associated toys can do for us. So there we go. That's this is the first one, which was a mock-up which I made for Mike to send out with the thing. As you can see, this is mostly full of fake stuff. However, this is one I've played around with the last couple of days to do some more experimenting. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work through. At the end, I'm going to package up the stuff that's in this. So if you want to have a go at it, you know, afterwards with watching the video or from memory, you'll be able to, and you'll have all exactly the same components. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start by creating a new document, and we're going to go with an A4 document. Up here, we're going to have linked images rather than embedding them. We're going to do facing pages, CMYK. Right. Always the default is ludicrously large margins, and we're going to do 5 tab, 5 tab, 10 tab, 5. I'm going to have a 3mm bleed. Bleed, by the way, is if you're thinking about having something printed professionally, if you're printing it out yourself, you don't need to worry about the bleed, and you can set it to nothing. So I'm going to create this document. We're going to have 4 pages. And here we go. So here is our document. I'm going to go into view, and I'm not going to do it in preview so we can see the guides. Okay. What we're going to do, I think, we're going to start here. I'm going to have a box at the top. So I'm going to go rectangle, a little bar across the top. Now, see all this stuff here, it's quite intimidating, and I can assure you that I've cut this down to pretty much the absolute minimum for this document. If I show you the studio options, all of these here in this all of these are palettes with things that you can use like this, right? See, I'm going to get rid of that one. So I've trimmed down. Obviously, if you've got a much bigger screen, or even better, 2 screens, that's much easier to work with. But I've cut this down as much as I can so that I don't clutter up my screen. So we're going to, there's the box. We're going to make that, I think we'll have 7mm, and color wise, we want no stroke, and I'm going to go with 70% cyan. Now we want another bar, and there I can copy and paste this. Oops, not the right thing. I can copy and go away. Sorry. Right. I can copy and paste that, or You can't see me doing this, but you can click option drag, which will do a copy, much as in various other products. We're going to make this, I'm going to make that, whoa, too far. We're going to go 28 millimeters, and I'm going to option drag that again down to the bottom because we want that later. Okay. Now, the only slightly confusing thing that you might come across in here is there are two different text tools. This one is artistic text. This one is text in a frame. The main difference is this is the tool that you use most of the time. This is if you want to do something slightly clever. Because we're going to do this, I'm going to say, I'm going to draw that, and that will show you roughly what we're going to get. And in there, I'm going to put the headline. Oops. I'm going to go up here. This, I'm going to use this type. Yes, inline. And then I'm going to grab this, and I'm simply going to go. You'll notice that by default, in Affinity, the constrain is on. So unlike how things have been in the past for a long time, you had to, if you scaled something, it would distort. Now, and you held shift to stop it. In this, if you hold shift, you can distort it. If you don't hold shift, it will constrain by default. Even Adobe are beginning to adopt this, and I guess it probably makes sense because it's something that's probably how it should have been from the start. But those of us who've been using Macs for a long time, it comes a bit strange to start with. So we're going to go, I'm going to set that. I'm going to go, I think we'll set that to, let's say 70% gray. Now, I'm going to draw a text box here. And if I go into text frame, I can do columns. I want, I think we'll have 3 columns here, and we'll have a 5 mil gutter. There we go. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to import text, which I've already pre-prepared. Here's page 1 text. There we are. We have page 1 text. Now, oops, done. Right. I'm going to select all that text, and I'm going to set a basic style. So we're going to say, I happen to want to do this in News Gothic because I like News Gothic and it's a nice typeface. And like Times, it's designed for newspapers, so it's slightly compressed. 12, I think that's a little big. We're going to go, let's start with 11. And we want paragraph spacing. I'm going to say I want 6 points in front and 0 points after. And we can change it. We could set all sorts of things here if you want to define, the color and indents and all sorts of things. I'm going to stick with something fairly simple.
Simon, before you do, can I ask a dumb question?
Yes, sure.
When you say 6 points in front, what does that mean?
That means
where are the 6 points going?
Okay, you see these spaces? I'll see if I can join in. Okay, see these paragraph spaces here between the paragraphs?
Yeah.
That's your space. You can have space before or space after. No, that's fine. That's a perfectly good. Professionally, people, you should use a space before or after rather than inserting a line space. I mean, commonly, you know, on a typewriter, you would do return to create a paragraph. Here, obviously, you can control that because you can say, I can make the space in there bigger. I can go up. Oh, it goes up very small. Oh, let's go 8. If I do 8, see that? So that I'm going to give that. What else do I want? Okay. Having done that, snap that on properly. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a style. Okay, and we're going to call that text. And we are going to say check font, News Gothic, Roman, 11 points. Okay, spacing. Alignment left, no indents, whatever. Okay. So that's a little tight for my liking. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to say leading. I'm going to do percentage of height and I'm going to make that 1. Oops, I need to select all. Do percentage height 120, which is a traditional spacing, but you can set it to what you like. It's lovely. And we'll mess about with that later. So now we've got some basic text and we want to place a picture. So we have a tool here, which is place image, or we can go file, place. See, I have to look where half of these are because I do them by keyboard shortcut most of the time. But anyway, we're going to go place an image. And for this image, we want that one. No, we don't want that one. We want that one of the actual new M1 iMac. I'm going to open that. I'm going to draw that in like that. And now we're going to use a crop tool because that's going to be, we're going to crop that tighter. The usual way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, do a text wrap square. Have 2, tab 2, tab 2, tab 2. Then just going to crop this a little tighter. There we are. So I think, right, we're going to give this guy a byline. So we're going to go character. Let's make that 12 and let's go bold italic. There we are. This is a headline. We're going to take that out. Going to put that. Now you'll notice I tend to start drawing a text box off the page. And the reason for that is that otherwise it will tend to try and enter one of the other text boxes. So here we go. We'll make that into a single column text box and paste in our headline. And then we're going to go. Okay, I can see immediately that that's trying to place that in the middle, which means I need to go to the text frame and I need to say vertical position at the top. Okay, have we got a turn in there? Right, we'll make this, let's make this bigger. And what we're going to do, this text frame, as you see, it's being pushed down because of the text wrap. So I can do ignore text wrap for that box. And that will allow me to do that. I think we're going to have bold. Let's have like that. Blue. And take black out. We'll go. Well, let's go all the way. Let's go like that. So now there are the basics. Right, I'm going to make a subhead here, I think. So I'm going to go, let's go 13 points and bold. And we'll make that blue as well. In fact, I think I'm going to make that a darker blue just because. And take the black off. Right, what we want to do is I want to make a style from that. So new style, we're going to call that sub, based on text. Check use Gothic bold. Lovely. Okay. Then what we can do, and the reason for using styles is you don't have to keep doing this all the time. You can then go, all right, we'll have that. That's sub. There we go. So what have we got here? Now you see this here. This shows you show this eye, this red eye. That shows me that the text is overflowing. We have too much text. I can see that. How much we overflowing? Oh, one line, but we need to allow for this. So that's a little bit spacey for a headline. So I'm going to go into paragraph and that I'm going to take that down to 110 and I'm going to put text wrap on that. Okay, now we've got a little bit extra over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I can do two things here. I can manually make some of this text smaller, which I think is what I'm going to do, or I could go in and I could edit the style. In fact, let's do that. Let's say what we want to do is we want to change that style. That has no style. So let's make that the text style. And can I then make all of this text? And text. Okay. And okay, so actually we need to go a little bit bigger. We want to fill the page up. So I'm going to go all of this and I'm going to use text. And we have size, make bigger, make smaller, make precisely smaller, which I will do in a second. So that's Option, Command, make smaller. But in this case, we want to make it bigger. So I'll do make bigger. Oh, too much. We just wash that up a bit and let's Like,
I think I would have cheated, Simon, and just put that title Apple's April 20th event in the blue box underneath Smuggler.
but we no. There's a reason for that. Right. What we're going to do with this is text frame. I do vertical position. Now, because we've got a text wrap, this may go weird or it may work. No, see, it's gone weird. It doesn't like text wraps. Vertical justification does not like text wraps at all. So I think what we're going to do here, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to do exactly 13 point. Bear in mind that 1 point is a 72nd of an inch. All right, let's try. No, that's too much. Look, this we've got a nasty word line hanging over there. We don't like that. So we're going to go. Okay. I'm going to do a bit of cheating here to make this work. I'm going to say.
Simon, what about the byline where it says by Malcolm Owen? The 2021 is on the next line. Could you make that a little bit smaller and scooch it up, and it might give you the little space that you need?
What I will do here actually is I'm going to do I do positioning and transform, and I'm just going to pull that track in. That's just closing the space between. All right. So what I'm going to do, and you can play with this to your heart's content, to be honest. I'm just being a bit just being a little bit. There we go. And if I want to make that line up to the bottom, I can do let's do, there we go.
Are there keyboard shortcuts for the baseline shift and the kerning?
Yep. Yeah. There's keyboard shortcuts for all this stuff. And I will point out, that's a good question on this. And if you go to preferences, show all keyboard shortcuts, you've got Apple's defaults, Serif's defaults, or as you can see,
you can make your own. Oh, that's so
cool. You can program pretty much every single command in this thing. So that's just the text, tables. So, if you're a long, like me, if you're a long-term user of something like InDesign, then you can go through and set most of the controls to something that InDesign uses, so you don't even have to break stride there. They're all programmable and savable. The same actually as all these, what your palettes, you can say, just like in Adobe, you can save those as workspaces, and you can have multiple workspaces if you like. So you can have, I don't know, page layout or ad design or posters or whatever you want. So now what I'm going to do is, if you look at the previous one, you'll see we've got some sort of fake, see page 4. So I'm going to go what's the one I'm looking at? That one. There we go. I'm going to go file, place, which is in my case Command D, and we're going to go want M1 iPads, and this one is AirPods. So going to go iPads over here. I didn't steal all this stuff, I promise. Much. Right.
Do all these images remain linked to their location, or do they get somehow embedded in the file? Because I remember back in the day, we used to have an images folder and everything had to be in there. How is it today?
When I set this up, when you do document setup, I don't think you can see it anymore, but when you, yes, there we are.
Yes.
Image placement, you can have prefer linked or you can embed them. Obviously preferred linked is better because almost everything, well, in fact, everything that you do with images or graphics or anything else in Affinity is non-destructive. And in fact, I'm going to show you some of that right now, because if I go to layers, everything in an Affinity document is a layer. If you're used to Adobe, you create layers manually and then they have a whole load of stacked objects on them. In Affinity, every object is a layer, but you can group objects into layer groups, which is what Adobe's layers actually are. They're in fact, they're like groups of layered objects. But so I'm going to pull that one up a bit. Put that there. Right, now this one, as we can see, and zoom in, is on a white background. I'd rather not have a white background. Now this is where the power, a secret power, as it were, comes in. If I select that object, up here, you have edit image. Now, the default editing of images built in to Publisher is slightly restricted. You could make a path here if you wanted to do it the old-fashioned way with the tool and cut around it. But if you have the whole set or two of the set or whatever, you'll see that that's, I opened that in a separate window, by the way. If I go here, photo persona, you'll see all the tools change here. Did you see the tools change? People?
That's so cool.
Right, that has brought in a large, well, basically most of the tools from photo. So now I'm going to do a quick cutout. I'm going to do a quick and dirty cutout. I'm going to make that okay, that's a little bit much. So I'm going to hold the Option key, which turns it into remove. I'm going to paint out. No. I can select subtract to make sure it only subtracts. Okay, that's the wrong one. I need to subtract all this in here. Okay, I think my tolerance is too high. I'm going to set that down.
I think you could take it right down to 1.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, well, that might be a
little.
little.
So much white. Maybe 5.
Yeah, there is. But you'll notice I have contiguous here, so I'm going to do select none, and we'll try again.
Does it give you the option to have a red mask showing so you can see everything that's being selected instead of the marching ants?
You can do once you've made a selection, you can. So I'm going to go. I need the brush again.
In Pages, there's a tool. I think it's Alpha, and you can click and drag, and it will.
Here we go.
Yeah. That's what I was looking for.
Okay, now to make a mask of this, I need to invert that selection, and then I'll do make a mask, and there we are. Now we have a nice cutout. So let's. Oh, need to deselect. And just to make sure we don't get any tiny little bits of white around the edge, I'm just going to bring the crop tool in. And whilst you're in the photo persona, we can do all sorts of things, by the way. You can do white balance and all the black and white curves, brightness, contrast, all the things that you would normally have to go back to your, back to the photograph and open it in Photo or Photoshop or whatever is your tool, but we can do them here. So if I go back now to the publisher mode and look at this layer, you'll see that there's the object and it has a mask. And here, I've got a mask of nothing there. I don't know what that is. Can't really see that, but there's a bin down here. If I let me just tear that one off. Now you can see what I mean about needing more screen space. There you can see it's got a crop, a mask, another mask. Right, I don't know what that one is. I must have accidentally created a small mask, so I turn that one off. But they're all non-destructive. I can take that off at any time. I can add an adjustment layer if I want. Let's go recolor.
You can also rename them and move them around in order to change the front and back and positioning.
Yep.
It's really helpful for pre-flighting.
It's amazingly good. And once you get used to the idea that everything is a separate layer, it's really easy to do. So we've placed our images. I'm going to import some more text. Once I go back to thing, I'm going to go text and I'm going to go place. And what we want is I've got some text here called call out. Whoa. Oops. We've crashed. Would you believe it?
Is it auto-saving?
Yep, it will auto save.
Okay.
Open.
And are there versioning then too? Like in Pages, you can go back a version?
Uh,
Like in a time machine kind of a thing?
no,
Okay.
it doesn't have that one. Here we go. Oh, right, okay, it's not saved our mask. All right, well, I won't bother to do the masking again, but that's unusual. I've been practicing this all week and I didn't have a single crash. That's just typical.
Of course.
Yeah, that's it. Welcome to tomorrow's world. Oh, come on. Really decided it doesn't like that piece of text. Okay.
It's like driving on the highway.
Yeah. Just typical, isn't it? Right. Okay.
Only in Zoom.
There we are. Okay. So what I'm going to do then, I'll tell you what.
Been there, done that.
I'm going to do, I'll cheat. I'll do,
No shame in cheating.
We seem to have lost the share desktop, Simon.
have we? Okay. Let's, let me bring that back in. Okay.
There we go.
See it again. Okay. What I've done is I have gone to the text document and opened the text document and done it that way, because why not?
Now, is that text still linked or is that now quote unquote embedded in the file now? So you don't have to link that in your pre-pressed files.
No, this is not linked. This text, I've cut and pasted it from text edit. The same as this. That is not linked. Text is not linked by default.
Okay. Good.
So gonna draw, let's zoom in a bit so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to say, right, go. Let's go. Going to use this one.
Can you import styles from other documents?
I believe you can. It's not something I've actually done, but I'm pretty sure you can. If you go to text styles, yeah, import text styles. Do you see that at the bottom? I'm not sure where you can bring them from, whether it's only other Affinity documents or whether there are other ways. I've not dug that deep, to be honest.
That would be fun to play around with. I'm
It
glad
would.
the options, at least the options there. So that's great.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I think this, I'm going to say we'll have that. Have some whiteout text and you'll see there that it tends to remember things, by the way. You might notice that it's now decided that that's at the bottom because that's the last one I chose. So I need to go vertical position, top. And we'll position that. And
I think I've lost sound. Anybody else?
no, it's all right. It's
Oh,
just me.
You're just being unusually quiet.
So I was concentrating.
Okay.
Right, here we go. So
Checking
let's
your pulse there, Simon.
no, I'm all right. I haven't expired. It's okay.
He does this at live meetings sometimes. It's
Oh.
it's terrifying.
It's like I don't hear him breathing anymore.
Do we
Sorry.
need paramedics?
Yeah, sorry. There we go.
No, don't be sorry. It's good to talk to yourself and watch you work. It's great.
So there we go. I'm going to close that up a little bit. Obviously, as you saw, really, that should be masked, but time is time.
Do you ever watch those Photoshop videos where they'll take a Photoshop document and they'll speed up the time and record it? The whole
Yeah.
thing? Those are fun. I think this would be fun if you did one of these.
Again, so use bold and
When you clicked on the typeface menu, are there little hearts in the menu or is there some kind of, yeah.
oh, you can
so-
favorite things. Yeah,
oh,
you can
that's
tag
so cool.
you can tag things as favorites.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, if you have house styles and things, obviously that,
Yeah.
you know, your style builders are up here, which if you use things repeatedly
Yeah.
are really, really powerful. But yes, you can favorite things in here like
Just
that.
makes it easier to see if the little heart is clicked. Oh, wow. That's great.
And I think that I'm not sure because it's not something I've really used. I think it may help them stay at the top of the list.
Yeah, it looks like it's sorting. That's what I wondered if it was going to sort it at the top.
And
And then I noticed your highlight colors are gray. Does that then respect the Mac OS highlighting color system? So
yes, the you can have light, dark, or match the system settings.
So of course, mine would be purple.
I'm not sure that you can. I'm not sure if it respects those, but
Okay.
because
That's right, I'll let you
interesting,
know.
yeah, you might find. I mean, I think this is in because my default is a sort of aubergine, my personal system setting for highlighting menus.
Mhm.
Okay, So then we're going to go down the bottom and we're going to say, we've got Apple stores and we've got Apple Watch. And so go. No, that way. Same here. I see we've got a little bit of white, so I'm going to run the crop in there and the crop in there. And I'm going to crop that up to there. And I'm going to position that. I'm not going to bother putting the call out text on this because you've seen me do that already. We're going to put that there. And there we go. And then obviously you can put your call out text in there. So there we go. First page. And I think let's show off a bit, shall we? Let's go. Let's see. Let's do a bevel and emboss. We'll do an inner emboss and there we go. Lovely. There we are.
Simon, I guess you're going to probably talk to us about output options maybe a bit later on, but given that, you know, in this day and age, while people still do print newsletters, I guess one of the things you might want to do is output this as a PDF and distribute it that way.
Oh yeah,
to do that and even include things like clickable web links and things, or does it not quite reach that far in terms of?
Oh yes, it does. You've got right. If I go to here, you can see it supports PNG, JPEG, GIF. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Or as somebody on Twitter pointed out, the Anglo-Saxon pronunciation of G is YIF. So there you go. You can just throw another one into the mix. Yeah. Photoshop, TIFF, PDF here, PDF for print. You can go into the PDF settings in the controls to do, you know, all pages. I believe it supports embedded links and all the rest, the same as everything else. If Acrobat supports it, then it should support it. So
fantastic, great.
Yeah. In fact, you have to export a document really from. Otherwise, everything will be saved as, in this case, it would be AF Pub or AF Photo or AF Des for designer. Although each of the applications technically has its own file designation, Ashley assures me actually the whole secret of the Affinity Suite is that they are all actually exactly the same file format, which is how this works. So in reality, everything in Affinity is one file type. So you can open a designer document in Publisher or a Publisher in Designer or whatever you want. So effectively, the only real way to get something out to give to somebody else if they don't have the Affinity Suite is to export to PDF, which took me a little bit of getting used to, but that's fine. Like everything new, once you get the hang of it. So I'm going to do we're going to do another 2 pages now. Let's do something different. So I'm going to start with place, palms, okay, palm trees. Right, let's go. Now, I know that this is a fairly JPEG-y picture, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into effects, and I'm going to say Gaussian blur. I'm going to do just a little bit of blur so that's not got so full of horrible JPEG effects. Go. And right, we don't want layers, palms image. I think we want to make that, let's say, no, that's a bit too weak. Let's go a bit more.
Should name it Happy Little Tree.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go. Yeah, about 32. That'll do. Okay, so gonna do page 2 text. There's our text. First thing we could do is I'm going to say style text. Makes all our stuff into text. And I think for this one we'll do columns. Let's have 2, 3, and we'll have 5 mil gutters again.
I forget if you said, are you able to open up an InDesign or Quark document with?
I
Publisher?
don't think you can do anything with the Quark document, but in the recent, I think it was the 1.9 update, they're up to 1.93 or 1.94 now, I can't remember. They did add the ability to import IDML files. So
Nice.
as long as you still have access to, so if you were like thinking about changing over, you know, you would have, as long as you kept access to your InDesign for a short period, so that you could convert documents to IDML. I haven't tried it. Ashley assures me it works perfectly. So take that with, you know, the usual works perfectly kind of importing of anything, but you can import IDML documents. Right, let's do nature.
All my old stuff is in Quark, so no soup for me.
Photography with Affinity photo. Do A, my columns 1. We'll do that one centered, and character. We're going to go. Yeah, look, it's brought the News Gothic bold. We'll make that a bit bigger. Yes, get another one in. Nope. There we are. And oh, let's see, character, color. We'll go back. And again, we're going to place some pictures. For this one, I have. Where's my bird? Place the bird. Crop it. Again, if we wanted to, if we brought that in and we weren't quite happy with it, we can select that and go in here, and we have access to all our right, go here, do layers. This one is adjustment layers. So we could say, let's posterize that, shall we? There we go. Why not? And we can play around to our heart's content. And remember, nothing we do is permanent. If we go back to the layers palette.
How's the snapping? Like the picture's just a tiny little bit over on the column guide
Yeah,
there. Does it snap?
The snapping is, there you go.
Is it snappy? Like you can feel a little bit of a feedback?
You can. Of course,
Resistance?
there's a slight amount because it works in actual pixels in this, and you can set the tolerances like most
Oh,
things.
okay. That's what I want to know next.
When the further out you zoom, the kind of less accurate it becomes. But I'm going to go put text wrap on that. But like I say, no, I don't think I like that posterization after all. So we can go to layers and we can go posterize. Let's turn that off. Go back to normal, shall we? There we go. And I think what we're going to do is I'm going to make that point bigger. I'm going to make it bold and italic just because. Now, again, here we go. This is where we come across the power of oops. This is where we get to the power of the styles, and we can go here. If you remember, we made subhead, and all we have to do.
Yes, you could even program those styles to a quick key, I imagine, and then just press F1, F2,
you can have
F3.
You can have hotkeys. If you tend to compose as you live, when you set up the styles, you looked in the you can see here there's a whole load of things. So you can create kind of cascading styles. If you were in the habit of writing the page on the fly, you could have headline is followed by subline is followed by first para is followed by text.
It's kind of like
so
Markdown in a way.
Yeah, in a way.
This is what predated Markdown.
Yeah. So there we go. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to do here,
awesome.
see these bullets? I want these bullets to look much nicer than that. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a new style, and we're going to base it on text. And we're going to say, oh, I don't want Arial, go away. I want News Gothic. We'll have it italic. That should be 11, I think. And I'm going to do 5 mil indented and a first line indent of -5. And that's, we're going to go 4, 0. There. That to be go. Set all of that. As you can see, there's half a dozen places you can get to the same thing. So that's character. I want paragraph style is text. Good. Definitely. So then if I select that, we can go. Oh, I didn't. I didn't actually save that style. Never mind. Do it here then. So we go new style based
Is there a
on
styles palette? I don't see a styles palette.
there is one. I've hidden it because you just end up with on this little screen I'm using, you
Yeah,
end up
yeah.
with way too many. As I say, if you go into View Studio, there are all of those styles. You can see styles down there. There's a styles palette for objects, and then there's character styles and paragraph styles and all sorts. So we're going to
I
call
usually
that.
make my palettes all nested next to each other that are related. I kind of like put them
Yeah.
together like they're groups of cousins.
Like this. So yeah, I've got character, paragraph, effects.
I'd stick the
yeah.
style tab right next to the paragraph.
Yeah. What happens if you put too many in on this small screen? It will start to truncate
Yeah.
the names. So I'll show you that. And
then you probably have to hover so that they expand, I imagine.
Well, you can see what they're once you learn, but for clarity, I thought I'd stick so you could actually see what the tabs are, because you end up with FX and para and chur. So we're going to call that bullets, and it's based on text, and it's News Gothic, italic, and 11, and spacing was 5 -5 for what tab? That should okay.
You got 1 point instead of 11 points.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say it's gonna be really squished.
Really tiny because I.
But he did that on purpose because now he's gonna show us how to edit it.
Yeah. Right. That should be 11 point, and we go up here and make sure we have some of it selected. Let's zoom in on that so you can see. Right, there it is. It's tiny, tiny, tiny. So I'm going to get my text. Right, that will do. And you see this here? This is update the paragraph style. Thank you, he says, as it fails to work.
I think there's a space between the 1 and the 1, maybe? Or there's not a space between the 11 and the P?
I don't know. Let's just do
Press 11 and press return. See if there you go.
And we need to do then leading is.
That should be the 11, I think.
Let's make it 11 anyway. And then we can do update style. There we are. And then we can select this. And we can go bullets. And bullets.
This is one of my favorite things because then later on when you decide you want to change the font or the typeface or the style or the leading, it'll do it globally across the entire document wherever that's been selected.
That is true. And what I will actually show you what happens if I do that. If I go into we'll select that there, and if we go character color, let's say we want to make that want to make that dark red. If we then do, oh, get out of the way. You'll see that all the subheads have now gone red. And that will apply on the previous page as well. So we're going to bring that up. About there. That up. Right, there's another picture to go in here. We're going to have hills, landscapes, and buildings. Oops. We got to need to edit that because that crop is obviously way too big. And we want some space around that. And there's another headline that needs to go in here, which is, tell you what, save time, go. I'll cheat because the time's ticking on.
It's not cheating, it's being efficient.
Swatches. Oh, come on. I need to get the swatches where I can. I think we have that. There we go. We're going to do. Go away. And we're a little bit over there, so I'm going to do a little. Oh, this is where you get to be a sub editor.
Yep.
Sorry. Goodbye.
I wrote an article last year for a professional print magazine, and now I know what they did with all my copy to make it fit into 4 pages.
Yeah.
There's lots and lots of tricks you can employ.
Yeah. I mean, you can squash the text, the fraction.
Lots of cheats.
Lots of cheats. I mean, people will tell you, typographers will tell you shouldn't really squash text by using this,
sometimes.
like here where it says that's spacing. Here, this is letter width. Now, if you take some text like that and say we're going to make it 60% width. To most people, that's probably passable. A typographer will spot that the verticals are now thinner than the horizontals, and that's a giveaway, and that's why that there's such a thing as condensed text. But if you need to get text in and you want to go 98%, no one will ever see it, I can assure you. So there we go. And now I'm going to do another one. I'm going to place the picture of Steve. Another iconic picture.
I like how it highlights red when you get to the edge of the guide there.
That's the snap on. It's so it will highlight like guides, and when it lines up with something else, it's
mildly satisfying.
it is very, very nice. And we're going to go stick that in. I'm going to go, oops, wrong tool. Go. Now, what I want to do is I want to have the text, if you remember the previous one, wrapping around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go
Don't you tell me it's going to auto detect the picture. We used to have to draw that stuff.
no, unfortunately, no. That's one thing that Adobe can make a reasonable stab at that this doesn't yet do.
You have to draw your own mask.
Well, sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
Because for this, I'm not actually going to mask it. Obviously, you could
Okay. I
mask
see
it.
what you're doing. Yeah.
But what I'm doing here is I'm
Yes.
editing the text wrap,
Okay.
which
You're making the graphic box editable, an editable object. Okay. Now you're adding points. I see.
yeah.
Now is that an option click or something? Oh, Bezier. Bezier's. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, you got Bezier curves. So what you do is if you do want the thing, you double click to put a new point in.
That's very illustratory.
Yes, it is. It's, I mean, you know, I hesitate to say, oh,
Now that's great though, because in the olden days, you used to have to draw a box and make that shape. Now you can just do it right within the graphic box. So that's much easier.
It's all
This is much better.
so we'll go like,
You can do it to some extent in Pages as well.
yeah, you can. I mean, don't
This
get
is
me
more
wrong.
elegant though.
This is a little bit more elegant, but there's nothing, you know, desktop publishers are all much of a muchness. They're all about boxes with things in them. And you could do this in Pages equally. You really could. I'm going to do place of text, and the text is pages 3 to 4. Open. There we go.
There's definitely much more control. This reminds me much more of Quark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very, if you're familiar with InDesign, then it is
even more
very,
so
very heavily influenced by InDesign. And, you know, why would it not be? So we're going to make that. Just keep going until it's big. 30 point. Bold. Let's make it bigger. Let's make sure that's not. Turn off ignore text wrap. Okay, that one's. Get that one out of the way, shall we? There we go.
It's really amazing just how many hundreds and almost like thousands of decisions you have to make through the course of typesetting something. And you're having to like slow your brain down to get your fingers to use the menus. But I know darn well you're thinking, I would just do it this way on the keyboard.
Yeah, keyboard. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying not to use the keyboard too much because then it will all be a bit black magic.
Very much so. When I used to typeset full time, I felt like a drummer in kind of a drum kit. I'd have like a rhythm because I'd have all of my styles, a certain assigned map to a certain F key, and I would typeset these long, boring documents like the Code of Federal Regulations.
So this, yeah, here we go. Let's, how to do a cheat. I've just put the tracking there. I used the keyboard shortcut, but what I've done is, you'll see I've made this is now gone down to minus 10%, which is the space between the letters has gone down to minus. And I think what we're going to do, right, I think poor old Steve looks a bit stark there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go, we'll have an adjustment layer. And we're going to do, let's have color balance. Give Steve a little bit more warm. And you know what? I think I'm going to make him bleed off. Then, just because I can, I think I'm going to go back to publisher mode, and I'm going to say, I think I'm going to have a bit of just a bit of a fade out the back here.
Ooh, that's pretty. That's really
right. Cool. And just because we can.
Oh, make him rainbow. Come on.
Just because we can, I'm going to say object. Let's do effect.
But it looks like you really could if you wanted to. You could do the 5
Oh,
colors
you can
now.
do all sorts of things. You really can. Yeah, I mean, yeah, gradient
Without even
overlays.
having to open, you don't even have to open Affinity Photo. It's just another persona that's linked to it.
It's linked there. You can go straight into it. For this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simple outer shadow. Let's go. This is probably a bit harsh.
See, you and I could be like the golf commentators. You do the editing, you can make the commentary.
I'm going to be deliberately over harsh with this so that you can see it on my tiny screen. What we got there? 70, 40, 45, let's call it. So we go on there and we do the same. We can go 70 tab, 40 tab, 45 tab. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's have some nice drop shadows. And if we want to change the angle of the drop shadow, we can. I mean, all these things are in pages, that sort of thing as well. And there
you
we
can apply
go.
that globally.
I don't know. I must admit, I haven't explored it that much. You can set styles.
Or you could probably copy a style, like in on the Pages toolbar, you can copy one style and apply it to another.
I believe so. They have a pipette here, but it's only for colors. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the InDesign eyedropper, which is, I must admit, one of Adobe's triumphs. You know, I won't deny that they have a few tricks that that Serif haven't quite caught up to. But you know, Serif is what, Publisher is what, 2 years old, 3 years old,
And it's a fraction of the price.
and it's the, you know, it's a giveaway price. And you'll see here, by the way, that it shows me text breaking out of the box. And that is because I have this on here, which says, show me the overflowing text. And if I turn that off, it will go away. And if I want to link the box, I'll just show you how this works. I'm going to link this box by clicking on there. And I'm going to go to this page and I'm going to drag the text. And then we have our text and we can carry on from there. But the time is running out, so I'm not going to bother doing page 4, but it's all more of the same things you can imagine. As you can see here, text, subheads, boxes. The one thing I didn't show you is in a box in text frame here, you can set indents as well as, you know, strokes and fills. All the usual things that you can do anywhere. So there we go. Now that's sort of 10 minutes left, 8 minutes left. So I hope that's been interesting to everybody.
I think so. It's like watching a Bob Ross painting for me anyway.
Well, yeah, thank you. But I hope you enjoyed that. And it's some of it applies to all sorts of, you know, a lot of those things will apply to Pages or Swift Publisher or InDesign. If you are intimidated by, you know, all that stuff, then, you know, maybe Pages or Swift Publisher is a better bet for you. But if you are interested in as much power as you can screw out of 25 quid, there's no, you know, at the minute. And on, it's not even that. If you buy the ones on iPad, is it, Mike? It's what, 13 quid or something at the moment?
Yeah, crazy.
There is no publisher for iPad as yet, but as I say, Ashley assured me it will be coming when they are happy with its features and its interface. But there you go. So, I mean, anybody got any questions?
I
Mr.
do,
Lockwood,
Simon.
far away.
Yes.
I've done a calendar. Last year I did a calendar in Affinity Publisher, and I created all the grids for the calendar tables and saved them as assets.
Yes.
I was thinking that the assets would stay with the document, but it seems that the assets stay with the application. If I wanted to use these assets somewhere else, is there a way to export the assets and use them on a different computer?
Do you know? I really don't know. It's not something I've made use of, I'll be honest. Let me have a quick look. Because I know there's view, studio, assets. Oh, you can export assets.
Okay, that's what I was asking about. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go into the assets palette under the top menu, you know, the top left right-hand corner menu, there is an option to export assets.
Okay.
And then you apparently can export them as some sort of document. I suggest that you then put them in the Affinity Publisher folder in iCloud, and then you could probably access them from anywhere. Not something I've used, but there's definitely an export assets function.
Thank you very much, Simon. Wonderful demonstration.
That's all right. Thank you.
Is anybody in the room actually using Affinity Publisher professionally?
No, Mike,
John is up and running already. Brilliant.
I'm a feeling I'm going to be.
I mean,
it's such an astonishing price, you know.
It is.
And I mean, I know, you know, price isn't everything, but
I think the main reason why it hasn't yet made as big an impact on, professionals as you might think, is that people who've got a lot of stuff, they've got a lot of time and a lot of stuff invested in Adobe or Quark, they've got all those legacy documents, which leaves them with a problem. Now, if you're on InDesign and you want to change over, you have got this option to export stuff to IDML and then import it into Publisher. But what I have seen is a lot of people who are newer, if you like, people who are starting out, leaving college, people who are freelancing, they're the people at the moment who are who are using Affinity, because in the end, as a printer, as a print provider, you don't really care what somebody uses to build their document, as long as when they send you a PDF, it's a nice PDF and not nasty. I won't mention another product called Publisher, which makes very, very nasty PDFs indeed, but that's another matter.
I have to be so careful not to say Punisher. Because I said Punisher for so many years.
Sheeta, your comment about oh gosh, I've just lost it. It's just disappeared from my chat. About IDML files. Can you expand on that?
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yep, sure.
Okay, an IDML file was meant for backward compatibility, and it was created because when you work with a newer version, sometimes you cannot work with the older versions, bring a file back into the older versions at all. It completely stops you. So an IDML file was made so it's backward compatible all the way to InDesign CS4. But in the process of allowing it to be backward compatible, it strips a lot of features out of that InDesign file. So when you bring it back into InDesign, it will, I won't even say it might not work the way you want. It will not work the way you want. So that's what you have to be careful with. An MDML file strips out features and settings because, let's say if it's a InDesign CS 2020, it's definitely not going to be the same because we won't have the same features. So that's a concern with an IDML file.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, an IDML file, which stands, by the way, for InDesign Markup Language, is never going to be the same, but it does at least allow the option to import the main bulk of it into another product. Which is why when I said you can import IDML, I haven't tried it. And that's why I said, take anything that gets imported from one thing to another, you cannot guarantee that it's going to come in perfectly.
Absolutely.
But it's better than nothing. It's better than hard luck, start again. The other thing, of course, you can do, again, it's not perfect, but you can import PDFs either into, in fact, I'll see if I can open one. Well, I'm not sharing my screen.
That was going to be my next question, was what happens if you import a PDF?
You can import a PDF. You get, let me see, file, open. Let me look for a PDF. Oh, there we go. There's a PDF I made of it to send to Mike. So if I open that, you have the option to load all the pages or specific pages.
Can you share your screen? That sounds familiar.
Yeah. I will share the screen. Let me go back to Zoom and share Affinity Publisher. Share. Okay. So this is I've just done open PDF inside Publisher. And as you can see, it's, I can tell it a specific PDF DPI, or you can let it estimate. In other words, it will pick up the DPI of the individual objects, what color space you want to use. You can have favor editable text over text fidelity, and you can have group lines of text into text frames, which is what you want. And if I then open that, bearing in mind this one I made earlier, with the one I knocked up for Mike, you'll see that these are no longer linked, obviously, but you can link them. So obviously this was made with Publisher, so these are now linked, and that's all come out pretty nice, but it's not quite right. Look, you see you've got a weird indent here, and that's a fairly simple document, I admit, but it does a pretty good job of importing PDFs. I mean, like anything, the more complicated the document is and the more clever toys you throw at it, the less compatible it's going to be when you bring it into something else.
More of a problem of people making it in something and not really knowing all the rules for layout, and then having all of those extra returns and extra text boxes.
Yeah,
and
well,
that's what makes it a
Oh,
mess.
yes, it is.
Simon, it's yes, way past 9, so we probably ought to call this.
To me, but one thing I will say, the find, Command F, for example, find here special characters. You can find tabs and all these other things. So if I go in here and I say I want right, let's find paragraph break. You'll see it shows it to me nicely. Like I say, find right. These it also saves things you've searched for recently. So double para break, replace with para break, find. It won't find any, but it will show all the instances here, and you can do replace all or replace them individually and so on.
So glad you showed that. That's one of my
It's a
favorite tools.
very, very powerful search and replace. I would say on a par with the one in Adobe's InDesign. So, and that is really useful when you import text and you get weird and wonderful stuff. You will see, you might have seen on there, it had capital O tilde because I imported some text from a website and all of the apostrophes turned into capital O tildes.